When planning for retirement, there are some assumptions that have to be made. And in today's video, we're going to talk about those three retirement assumptions to avoid, as making the wrong assumptions, as you'll find out in number 1 and number 3, can be very costly if you've made those wrong assumptions. So stick around through all the assumptions, as you want to make sure that you're planning the right retirement to help you retire and live that lifestyle that you want to live with confidence. I'm Scott Sierens. I run a retirement planning firm where we partner with families and individuals, people just like you, to help them minimize taxes, make work optional, and invest and retire with confidence. Incorrect assumption number 1 is that Medicare will cover all of your healthcare needs. Now, there is Part A, and Part A is hospital insurance. So that's going to cover your inpatient hospital expenses. There's Part B, which is medical insurance. That's doctor's visits. However, Medicare does not cover the copays, the deductibles. It doesn't cover prescription drugs. Now, that is where Medicare supplements and Medicare Advantage plans come in. However, there is a cost to those plans. There's premiums that you need to pay to be able to get that coverage. And some has, there's certain amounts of coverage for each and every different plan. But the assumptions out there that Medicare will just cover all of your healthcare needs are incorrect. And then there's additional needs that you might have, like dental, vision, hearing. All of those can get really expensive throughout a retirement. Let's just say your retirement is 20 or 30 years. All of those costs can add up over time. Now, similar to the medical side of things and the dental, vision, hearing side of things, there are plans that you can get, dental, vision, hearing supplement plans that you can get to help cover you throughout retirement. But again, there's a premium to having that insurance. There's a premium to having that plan and to having that coverage. So there are costs when it comes to healthcare in your retirement. So just don't assume that Medicare will cover everything. The other misconception that I always see out there is that Medicare will cover any sort of long-term care cost. And let me just, get that misconception out there. And that's exactly what it is a misconception, is Medicare is not going to cover any of your long-term care needs, whether that's home health care, an assisted living facility, or a nursing facility. And very interesting stat here that I want to talk about. Now, this is according to Fidelity Retiree Healthcare Cost Estimate. And I'm going to link to this. Article in the description below. So in the description below, you can get a link to this article that I'm talking about here. But it says the average retired couple, age 65, may need approximately $315,000 saved. Again, this is after tax money to cover healthcare expenses in retirement. Let me just repeat that: $315,000 saved to cover healthcare expenses in retirement. Medicare is not going to cover everything for you in regards to retirement. And there are amounts that you are actually paying for the different being deducted either from your Social Security or that you're paying to even have Medicare. So just want to get rid of that assumption. Number 1, Medicare doesn't cover all of those healthcare needs. So as you're planning for retirement, have you put some money aside? Have you put a budget amount each and every month or each and every year to what you'll need from a medical standpoint? And then also make sure that you're putting some inflation on it, because the cost of healthcare continues to go up and up over time. In our retirement plans right now, we're putting 5% inflation on all of those medical costs that we are forecasting for our clients. All right, incorrect assumption number 2 is that I'll spend less in retirement. Now, there are some rules of thumb out there that maybe you'll need 70 to 80% of your pre-retirement income in retirement. Now, that might be true for some people, but for others, you might actually spend more in retirement. You see, as people go into retirement, there are some areas where you might spend less. One could be, housing, meaning that you have your mortgage paid off by the time you get into retirement. And as you go into retirement, you no longer have your company paycheck coming in. So with that no longer coming in, you're no longer withholding for your 401k. You no longer have the withholdings for your Social Security and your Medicare tax coming out of your retirement paycheck. So there's areas where you're definitely spending less. However, there's areas where you might be spending more travel, more entertainment, hobbies, activities, maybe time with your friends, your kids, your grandkids. All of that can lead to more spending because you have more time on your hands. So this is why I say the assumption that you'll just spend less in retirement is, in my opinion, it's not true for everyone. You need to take a look at your specific situation, put together a rough estimate of what it takes to live your current lifestyle, but then don't forget those other expenses: travel, entertainment, what you want to do with your kids, your grandkids. What are you going to do in that free time that you have? Because sometimes free time can lead up to added costs and expenses in retirement. So some might spend more, some might spend less. And then the one last part that I wanted to add in here is what I also see is up front, sometimes people spend more, and then on the latter years of retirement, they might spend less. So up front, we call it the go-go years. Your young and healthy years, you're going, you're enjoying, you're doing different things. You might spend a whole lot more. But in the latter years of retirement, we'll call those the slower go years. That's when you might be spending less. However, one little caveat there, as we talked about in assumption one, then you have to maybe start thinking about those healthcare costs, whether it might be assisted living, long-term care, nursing home facility type cost. And so it all might just kind of equal out over time, because you'll have different costs that you might be looking at in those latter years. So when it comes to retirement planning, don't just go with the assumptions that you'll spend less. Actually take some time, understand what your lifestyle budget is, and then put some numbers to all of those fun things that you are looking to do. Okay, before I get into incorrect assumption number 3, which can lead to some major cost in retirement, if you enjoy videos in regards to retirement planning, helping you to minimize your taxes, helping you to invest with confidence and retire with confidence and build wealth, subscribe to our YouTube channel, as we're continuing to come out with additional videos to help you in all of those subjects, plus many more. All right, our final assumption, incorrect assumption number 3, is that your taxes will be lower in retirement. Well, maybe, but also maybe not. And here's the reason why. I find that a lot of people have saved into those IRAs, those 401ks, the SEP IRAs, the simple IRAs, because it felt so good to get a tax deduction during your working years. But that's exactly what you got. You got a tax deduction because you're kicking taxes down the road. So you haven't paid tax on any of that money yet in those IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, 457s, SEP IRAs. And so since we haven't paid any tax on those accounts yet, every dollar that you withdraw on those accounts, you're going to have to pay income tax on. Also, these are the accounts where the government requires forced income. Now, it all depends on what year you were born. You might already be taking those required minimum distributions, that forced income by the government. But again, depending on which year you were born, it could be that you're already taking it, could be age 73, could be age 75. Have to look at IRS rules for what age you're going to need to start to take that forced income. And so here's the reason why I say your taxes actually could be higher in retirement than where they're at today, depending on how much you saved into that tax deferred bucket. When you start taking that forced income, well, it does start at a certain rate when you start. Over time, it goes up because basically the government wants you to take more out because they want to get the tax dollars from you on that money that you've saved in that bucket. So for example, someone right now with $2 million in their IRA, 401k, 403b, I'm sure you get the hint of what kind of bucket we're talking about here. At age 85, if you've got $2 million in there right now, the required minimum distribution, again, this is 2023, so the required minimum distribution this year would be $125,000. That's forced income coming out of that bucket. You're going to have to pay taxes on all $125,000. Now, let's just say you're collecting Social Security. Maybe you have a pension, you have rental income coming in. And as you can see, that all stacks up. And next thing you know, you might have taxable income of $150,000 to $200,000 or more later on in your retirement. So you can just quickly compare that to where you're at today. Now, if that's more than where you're at today, you can see how your taxes will go up in retirement. If that's less than where you're at today, well, then great. Your taxes could potentially go down in retirement. But that's just the first part, right? Because that's your taxable income. Then you have to say, hey, what will tax rates themselves do in retirement? Now, I just kind of look at where we're at from a national debt standpoint. National debt, government spending continues to go up and up and up. At some point in time, we're going to have to pay for all of this. So my belief is that over time, tax rates will potentially go up. If so, even if your income's the same and tax rates go up, your taxes will be higher in retirement. And you can see how this can lead to thousands of dollars of extra costs that you might not have been planning on. So I hope that I've made this very clear. If you're sitting with $1 million, $500,000, $2 million, whatever you're sitting with in that IRA or 401k bucket, you actually don't own all of that money. Unfortunately, your favorite uncle, Uncle Sam, the IRS, owns a portion as well, as you're going to have to pay that out in taxes. The other thing to be well aware of, if you are a couple listening to this video, is what happens if one of you passes away. And I just kind of put an example here that I'm going to read off. Is let's just say we have a couple and we're going based on 2023 tax brackets with $80,000 of taxable income coming in. As a couple, you're in the 12% tax bracket. But if one person passes away, the remaining spouse now goes to the singles tax bracket. And on that same $80,000 of income, they now just jumped up to the 22% tax bracket. Let's go with one more example. Let's say you have $190,000 of income coming in. Again, as a couple, married filing jointly in today's tax brackets, 2023, you'd be in the 24% tax bracket. One spouse were to pass away. Now the remaining spouse is in the singles tax bracket at that same $190,000 of income. Because remember, you're still going to have to take those forced distributions out of those IRAs, 401ks. That person would now jump up to the 32% tax bracket. So essentially, leaving your IRA or 401k to your spouse, which is the thing that most people do, is essentially leaving more money in taxes to the IRS. But you see, if we know about this ahead of time, we can plan for it and we can help people potentially reduce those taxes. That's where tax planning comes into your overall picture. But just to wrap up, incorrect assumption number 3 is that your taxes will be lower in retirement. What do you need to do in regards to this? This is where you need to make sure that you're putting together a tax plan and each and every year going through tax strategies to help reduce that long-term tax burden. While we're on the subject of taxes and how to help reduce your long-term tax burden, if you haven't yet, download our free guide to help you unlock hidden tax savings opportunities. Again, the free guide to help you unlock hidden tax savings opportunities. Now, there's going to be a link in the description below that you can click on to get that guide, or you can go to lifemoneyshow.com/taxes. Again, that's lifemoneyshow.com/taxes. What it is a guide of strategies to help you reduce your taxes. It's going to provide you actionable advice and a checklist to follow. But more importantly, what it means is keeping more of your hard-earned income, more of your hard-earned retirement savings, 401k, 403b money, IRA money in your pocket versus giving it to the IRS in taxes. So if you haven't yet, download that free guide to help you reduce your long-term tax burden. Again, link in the description below, or go to lifemoneyshow.com/taxes. If you've enjoyed this video and you want to see additional videos to help you build wealth, reduce your long-term tax burden, and invest and retire with confidence. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so that way you get notified as we're continuing to come out with new videos each and every week.